I'd like to call this meeting of Zion City Council to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Here.
Commissioner Fisher?
Here.
Commissioner Deteen?
Here.
Commissioner McKinney?
Here.
Mayor Hill?
Here. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 4 is agenda changes. Do any of the commissioners have changes to the agenda?
Mr. Mayor, Pastor Ken Fielding is here.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I went ahead and Pastor.
I must admit I wasn't expecting such a crowd here tonight. It's good to see. But I'd like to just share one scripture verse with you out of several different versions. NIV says, "Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you." Another one says, "Give all your worries and cares to God, for he cares for you." Casting all your anxieties on him because he cares for you. And the last one that caught my eye was, "Throw the whole of your anxiety on him because he himself cares for you." As I was thinking about what to pray and what to read here tonight, I was thinking, typically when I come and I open in prayer, I'm usually praying for you, for wisdom, for our departments and their wisdom, our city, and the various things that we're dealing with. But I got to thinking a little bit beyond that. You have personal needs in your life. You have things that burden you outside of this office and this role. And that's what I want to focus on. And for our residents, y'all have something that you're praying for. And I want you to know that you can cast all your worries on him. And so I want to lead you in prayer and just ask God to bless you. Father, I thank you that your love is real. And I thank you, God, that we can come to you and we can pray. God, we really can unburden ourselves upon you. God, those things that trouble our hearts, we're able to lift to you in prayer and know, God, that you're listening and you're concerned, and we can leave them with you and trust you with them. Lord, I know in this place today, God, that there's many needs represented. There's some that are dealing with health issues, maybe some dealing with aging parents and their health issues. Some are grieving loss. Others are going through financial issues and maybe job loss, issues with problems with children and marriages and families, Lord, whatever it may be. But God, I thank you're big enough that you can intervene and help us in our time of need. And so, Lord, I pray, God, tonight that as I pray for all these people, God, some I know, some I don't, but God, I know that you love them. And Lord, I pray that you would just give them a sense of peace tonight, God, as they unload their burden on you. And I ask for this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Item number 4 is agenda changes. Do the commissioners have any agenda changes? Is there a motion to accept the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Have a motion?
Second.
And a second. Is there discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner McKinney?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item number 5 is citizens' comments. A number of people that would like to address the council today. First is Mr. Clyde McLemore.
Good evening, Council. Clyde McLemore, founder of the Lake County chapter of Black Lives Matter. I had a little incident over at the school, whereas I was from a couple of citizens was asking me why is so many police over at Central School. So I FOIA'd the school. The school don't keep up the numbers, so I figured, well, I'll FOIA the police station. So I FOIA Zion Police Station on April 6th. I got a report back telling me that 137 calls have been to Central Middle School. So then I talked to
that is since when? You know? Did they?
From the beginning of the school year. 137 calls. So I talked to Deputy Chief Henderson. I said, well, you didn't answer my other FOIA. My other FOIA was, what was the reasons for the calls? So today I got this in the mail. It says, Mr. McLemore, Zion Police Department received a request information pursued for your Freedom of Information Act on April 6th. How many arrests was made at Central Middle School? Your request is being denied for the following reasons in accordance to the Illinois Freedom Act. Anyway, they don't keep up the addresses. That's what it says here. But I was at the school board last night, and this is what I've been fighting about. This good old boy gang that's going on here in Zion. Here's an email that was sent to Dr. Roberts, the superintendent. It says, Dr. Roberts, Clyde McLemore submitted a FOIA requested by the Zion Police Department on 4/6, asking how many times the Zion Police Department was called at Central Middle School in 2017. The Zion Police Department responded 137 times. But they get the breakdown. They didn't even follow, they didn't even do a FOIA. First of all, when you do a FOIA and you contact the people that you're doing the FOIA for. This was given to me, this was an email. Won't you see this? And this ain't a copy of the good old boy gang. I don't know what it is. This is what I've been talking about. Zion is running this good old boy gang from the school board, all y'all. It's been going on for the longest. When we gonna stop this? I've been trying to be nice around here. I'm not trying to raise no hell. I'm just trying to get things done correctly. They give us a way out to do FOIAs. I do my FOIAs. The school already knew I was doing the FOIA because I went to them first. I shared the information with the superintendent that I had received before the school board. But when I get to the school board, there's an email that was sent on it. That wasn't right. And I think that, man, you the police commissioner, you the chief, that was not right.
I can respond to that. First off, the FOIA request probably wasn't correct. He's asking for how many times we've been there for arrests. Since it's juveniles, we can't release that.
I didn't ask for the juvenile arrest.
We can probably release how many times we've been there for arrests, but we can't release what it's for if it's juveniles.
But you did it to this.
We can give him a breakdown, which I was told that this was given to him, so I'm a little confused myself, as is Clyde. I was told that this breakdown was given to Mr. McLemore.
I didn't get, this is what I received. This is
But
what
I can tell you there's a little misconception there. The 137 calls there was for the entire year of 2017. So that would include last year's school year and the beginning of this school year. 137 calls is a little misleading because 56 of those calls were for alarms and premise checks. Most of those premise checks are probably self-initiated by officers just patrolling the area. High visibility, since it is a school, we're often there just to prevent any altercations. It looks like for criminal complaints, we were there about 10 times in 2017. Another large portion of the calls that we're out at Central for are officers doing follow-ups or detectives doing follow-ups, either to prior cases where they might have to make contact with a student at the school, or they're following up on a case initiated at the school. So I think the confusion with the FOIA request might have been the way it was worded.
Here's the original FOIA right here, Chief.
And I can
just
follow
let
up.
you say that now. A primary call is not a call. That's the police checking out the area, right?
Premises
Nobody
call.
called that. That
Exactly.
means that the police pulled over to see the security. They did that. So that wouldn't be counted in on the 137 calls at the school. Don't talk to me like I don't understand. Come on, Chief.
I got the list that you have right here.
I didn't get the list. The list was sent over to Dr. Roberts. It didn't even get to me. It was just, Mayor, would you please read that email I just handed you?
I'll hand it to the police chief.
I have it. It's in
Okay.
front of me.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. McLemore.
My suggestion would be that he just follow up tomorrow with either myself or Deputy Chief Henders to see why he's confused about his FOIA request.
Thank you, Chief. Next on is Mr. Larry Peterson.
As mentioned, I'm Larry Peterson, and I've lived here in Zion for a little more than 80 years, and other than when I went to college and military service and so forth, but I've seen and lived under many of these mayors that I see along here, and I think I fit in about with Mr. Heyer as the first mayor that I ever knew about, and a whole bunch of others. But I'm sure that some of the decisions that these men made probably weren't the best, and they wished that it could back up and maybe change it. And yet, I think by far, most of the decisions that have been made by these men and you folks are just right. They've been done correctly. They've been helpful to our city, and just beneficial to all our people. I feel the same probably could be said maybe about you as far as some of the decisions. Maybe some of your decisions haven't been the greatest in the world, and you might like to pull them back. But again, by far, all the decisions that I know anything about, I think are great. And I want to thank you for making them, for being here. I can't imagine all the time that you guys spend in trying to figure out what in the world do we do about this, the pros and cons of this issue or of that issue. And I don't know what you get paid for doing this, but it can't be enough. And so anyway, thank you so much. I know that some of the men here on the wall were committed to Jesus Christ, and some of you are as well. And I'm convinced that that helps in coming up with some of the best decisions for our city. Some of you have been in public service for years. Lloyd, I hate to point you out as being one of the older guys, but that's it. But here Lloyd has served in the police department for eons, and of course now on the city council for a number of terms. And they've just been in public service. That's all I guess I could say. Of course, Mayor Al here has been involved with our city in heading up things over at the Park District for a number of years. And now as mayor of our city, we thank you. And my friend Pastor Mike, why I know that he's been involved in just a lot of local boards and this type of thing, serving people, and probably most of the time getting nothing for it. He also served a number of years as a foreign missionary over in Papua New Guinea. And I think service is just kind of in his blood. He now is one of the pastors at the church I attend. And so anyway, I also thank all of the folks, well, some of whom are sitting over here, most of whom I really don't know. And but people that are heads of departments, people that work in those departments, thank you. I expect if you went out and, way back when, got jobs somewhere else, it might have been more financially helpful to you. But I want to thank you that head up these departments, those that work in these departments, whether it's the police department or the street department or the fire department or whatever else. And I didn't mean to slight Billy and Chris here, but I just don't know those men very well. And I think that means I'm supposed to get out of here?
That's what that does mean.
Okay. Well, just let me say once again, thank you very much for your service. It's really appreciated.
And Dr. Peterson, I would want to respond and tell you that I'm the first to admit that we've made some decisions that we wish that we could pull back. But I also want to assure people, and I think some people think that I wake up in the morning thinking, well, okay, how can I mess this up? How can I mess somebody over? Nobody does that here. We're all trying to do the best we can. We're giving it our best all the time. It's very easy, and I understand how people get frustrated with city government and our state government and our federal government, and it's easy and very tempting to zing us a lot, but that goes with the territory. Yeah. But I just want to assure you that we're doing the best we can, and we do put a lot of thought into what we're trying to do. So thank you very much for your remarks.
I see it that way as well.
Thank you.
I really do. Thanks.
Thank you, Danny.
Thank you. Next is Janissa Lindstrom.
Hi, I'm Janessa Listlin, almost lifetime resident of Zion. We have a lot of people here tonight that are part of North Shore Elite Cheer, and just in case I don't get an opportunity to say this later, that's why I put my name on the list. I just wanted to say thank you to the city, to Commissioner Fisher, and to all of our amazing families and athletes. Thank you for recognizing the work that these girls and their coaches do. So I just wanted to be able to go on record to say thank you. We appreciate you for recognizing what these awesome people do.
And well, thank you for what you do and for what all the other adults that are involved in helping these girls stay active and involved in their community. So thank you. Next is W.C. Bremner.
Mayor Hill, honorable sirs, gentle ladies, I stand before you this evening to publicly thank City Attorney Paula Randall. Let me preface my thanks by saying that when a Buick LeSabre picks an argument with a half-ton truck, the half-ton truck will win that argument every time. I find that I was called into court because the driver of that Buick LeSabre had been ticketed. When we, my child bride and I, arrived in traffic court, Attorney Randall was there, and I'm absolutely certain that she would give every resident of the city of Zion the same attention and wise advice that she gave to us. But it was the manner in which she came over, explained to us first why we were there, second, what would happen or what could happen, gave us various options. I felt that the driver of the Buick LeSabre, because his car had lost the argument, had already been punished financially enough. We took one of the options that Attorney Randall gave us and left. The charges against the driver of the Buick were dropped. But I do thank you, ma'am, for your kindness and your advice that you gave us in court. All of you should know what a gentle lady and wise lady she is working for the city of Zion. I do thank you for your time and your courtesy. Permission to stand down, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Bremner. Thank you. The last is, excuse me, we have a way of operating here, and it's not to call out whenever you feel like you need to say something. Last on the list is Mr. Al Rogers.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I rose to you out of frustration tonight over a continued complaint I've had over many years, much longer before you were the sitting mayor and much longer many of you were council members. So my years date back, not as long as Doc's, but I think I got some leverage. But my concern is this city's history or lack of history of hiring African Americans in key leadership positions. I've said to mayor and council and mayor to council for a number of years, I never expect you to release anyone to hire someone. But when positions become open, and with the demographics that have changed in our community over the number of years, there's an expectation that you would look to try to make our community and its employees a representation of the community in which we serve. I see now that we have hired or in the stages of hiring a new public works director. And this is not about this particular person, because I wouldn't know him if you showed me to him. But it is about the process. It's about when positions become available in 2018, and I continue to stick and look at the wall of fame of white boys, one after one after one after one. But the demographics in this community has changed so much, but not to the point that we can put an African American in a key leadership role. You'll give us some bird feeds, but to put us in a key decision-making role just doesn't happen, hasn't happened. And you're not going to keep saying wait, because I look at our police department, none there. I look at our fire department, we don't even have one. And every time I come, I hear the same lame excuse. We can't get them to apply. There are none, we can't find them. But every community seems to find them but us. I don't like it. I'm telling you I don't like it, and it needs to change.
Mr. Rogers, I would like to just respond. You have shared that concern with me for years, and we are making an effort. I'm going to, I want to explain that the new Director of Public Works is a highly qualified individual. We combined the position, the engineering position, with the Director of Public Works position. He meets all of those qualifications very highly, and I'm proud to have him on our staff.
Thank you, Mayor, and I'm not here to debate or to get into it.
I know that.
But I will say this. I understand that. I appreciate that. Here's my frustration. When it comes to us, we're either not qualified, not the most qualified, or the pendulum switches. I can go after director after director after, long before this young man, whomever he is. None of them had an engineering degree. So when it gets to, we never know what the qualifications are because it changes. It changes to meet who's making the decision. That's how we look at it. I'm not saying that's the way it is, but my time I can, and I don't want to start naming names because that's not what I'm here for. I stated my point, and I thank you.
Okay, thank you. Item number 6 is a consent agenda. Would the clerk please read the consent agenda?
Approval of minutes, a regular meeting held on April 3rd, 2018 at 7 p.m. Bills, vouchers 128924 through 129013 drawn on Huntington National Bank. Total $404,588.86.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Is there discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner McKinney?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item 7, consider passing resolutions as follows. 7A is resolution for improvement by a municipality under the Illinois Highway Code MFT funds for 2018 road improvements project per Director Roberts.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Attached is the IDOT resolution for improvement under the Illinois Highway Code. The resolution before you is authorization from the city to utilize $400,000 of the motor fuel tax funds for our 2018 road improvement project. Staff therefore request and recommends passing the resolution.
Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve this resolution for improvement under the Illinois Highway Code.
Is there a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? I have a question for Director Robert. Is this the entire project, or is this the city's part of a matching grant?
This is our local.
Okay.
The FAU is currently under construction right now. That is where we're doing the 80-20 split.
So if I add these numbers up correctly, it costs approximately $400,000 to do a mile of roadway?
I believe it's more than that. Right now, our estimate is around $530,000 for 12 blocks.
For a mile?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner McKinney?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Just off the top of your head, do you know how many miles of roadway we have in the city? About?
Currently, I believe it's 246.
So it's $123 million to do all our roads?
That does not include alleys. Alleys, we have another 81 miles
Exactly.
of alleys.
Director, actually, Mr. Roberts, when I first visited Public Works, handed me a pavement study from 2013 that said that we should be spending, what is it, Ray?
2.7 a year. That's just to
2.7 million
maintain
a
what we
year
have.
just on pavement, just on streets.
Okay.
So we do what we can.
We're doing what we can. 7B is temporary road closure for Nostalgia Days for Chief Dumian.
Thank you, Mayor Commissioners. Requesting the city approve and pass the resolution before them to close Sheridan Road on June 16, 2008, between 21st Street and 31st Street for the 32nd Annual Nostalgia Days.
Is there a motion? So moved. Second?
Second.
And a second. We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner McKinney?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item number 7C is a resolution of commendation for North Shore Elite Cheer for Commissioner Fisher.
Okay, so I have the honors of reading this off today.
Yes, you do.
Actually, I'll preface this by saying Janessa Listrin and Supervisor Neal shepherded her to me with this request, and so I reviewed it. And I'll just mention that each year approximately 50 to 75 athletes participate in recreational competitive cheer programs. This is every year since 2010, so you get lots of repeat contenders. They come back every year. They also do a lot of community service, sorting and organized food and supplies at Biting Love Ministries Food Pantry, completed a donation drive of toiletries for homeless women and children being served by Lake County Haven, raised funds and participated in Relay for Life Kenosha, supporting American Cancer Society. We Love Zion Adopt a Senior adopted 5 local senior citizens for Christmas shopping and wrapping gifts and ornaments. Completed a Share the Warmth drive collecting coats and cold weather gear to donate to First Midwest Bank Community Coat Rack. Hosted bingo with residents of Rolling Hills Manor during Martin Luther King Jr. Day, National Day of Service, and collected care packages sent to military members of our families recently stationed with the Armies and the Marines. This is all just since January of 2017. So you guys are doing a lot of great work. So now, I'll read the resolution. Whereas founded in 2010, North Shore Elite Cheer has provided a positive developmental experience for its team members comprised of Zion youth in grades K through 8, and whereas North Shore Elite focuses on encouraging the highest values of athleticism, sportsmanship, academic achievement, and community service, and whereas the focus on the great principles of excellence have resulted in North Shore Elite cheer teams reaching the annual state finals of the Illinois Recreational Cheerleading Association 3 times and winning the title of state champion 4 times, and whereas recognizing the positive influence of the North Shore Elite Cheer on the community as a whole and the great credit conferred by the people of the City of Zion by their achievements, the City Council approves placement of a commemorative sign for the display at the entrance to the city. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Zion, on behalf of all its citizens, commend the members and coaches of the North Shore Elite Cheer for their outstanding performance and athletic achievement. Their success brings great pride to the City of Zion and its residents, dated the 17th day of April 2018.
And if you would all come forward and get the commendation. Need a picture too. Left behind here. Come all the way back here. All the way back. All the way back. All the way back. Real close together. And we're just doing real close together.
Robert.
Don't be shy. Come on. Don't be shy. I'll fix it.
I know.
Watch it forward.
Stop there.
Everybody look at me first.
Okay.
Or all right, you want to? No. These are for you anyway.
I know.
Look here. Big smile, everybody.
Can I take it now?
Yeah.
Here you go. Look at me. Right there. Okay, one more. Right there. One more. Okay, right there. North Shore, are we number 1? Yeah. Right there. All right. Who we want to point at? Point at Mr. Fisher. Right there. Commissioner Fisher. Right there. All right. You guys, let's hear it for you guys.
Ray, I'll be sending these checks on the sign.
Yeah, wait till the ladies come by. I don't want to. I just don't want to. My glasses. Actually, I did that once. Gibby, you need to check that mic.
Yeah.
Test.
Thanks, Gibby.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Is there a motion to pass the resolution that we just read? Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner McKinney?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item 8 is consider passing ordinances as follows. 8A, is an ordinance authorizing renewal of aggregation program for electrical load per Clerk Spooner, but I'm going to call on Mr. David Hoover to explain what we have in front of us.
Thank you. My name is David Hoover. I'm with NIMAC, a consulting firm that's worked with you since 2013. We, by the way, managed similar programs for 100 communities in northern Illinois. If I can, just get a quick little background for you and everyone. Aggregation is a program that the state of Illinois has put together to allow municipalities to negotiate for lower rates for their residents' home electric bills. And the community has passed a referendum to enable you to do this in 2012. And you've been active in this since, again, 2013. The programs go for between 1 to 3 years. And at the end of that, they come up for renewal. And so your program is up for renewal. We went out for bids today. We're going to present the bids to you to figure out which supplier and which term is most favorable to the community. To start with, Commonwealth Edison releases their residential rates for a year at a time. It goes from June 1 to May 31 of the following year. They just recently released their rate, and it's 7.7 cents. We went out for bid for your community. By the way, each community gets their own pricing based upon the way their residents use their power. We, by the way, have tested about 30 communities over the last month. We've gone out to bid, and Zion has the best pricing of those 31 that we've seen. So it's a reflection of, again, just the way that your residents use their power. They use it in a way that's very favorable to the suppliers. So you have some of the best. You have the best pricing that we're presenting this go around this spring.
Does that mean that we use a lot of power or use a little power?
It neither. Actually, it's dynamic of how much you're using, how you use your power. And one of the key is how much power you're using during ComEd's 5 peak load periods of time. So unfortunately, it's nothing predictable, but you do, again, have a very favorable profile. And that's reflected here in the pricing. So the benchmark is 7.7 cents. If you didn't do anything, residents would be returned to ComEd, and they'd pay 7.7 cents. But instead, because you have your favorable pricing and the program that you have in place, we receive prices for 1, 2, and 3 years. I'll just draw your attention to the 1-year price. The first one is Constellation. If you were looking at a 12-month program for a 1-year renewal, they have the lowest rate at 6.854 cents. Then for the 2-year and the 3-year, if you go on down the page, Eligo Energy has the better pricing for 2 and for 3-year rate. Again, just to let you know, the difference between the 7.7 cents and the ComEd rate and the rates that you're looking at translates into savings to your residents between $90 and $110 a year to the average homeowner, single-family homeowner. So it's a great program. My question that we'd like to try to get to is, which term and which supplier would you find most favorable to the community? As you notice, the prices are going down a little bit over the next 3 years. So if you notice the prices from each of these 3, you'll see that they're dropping slightly. We know the ComEd rate only a year at a time at 7.7 cents. But my crystal ball, a little foggy, but I would say that if I were to guess what the ComEd rate would be over the next couple of years after the 7.7, I would suggest it's going to drop to roughly 7.6 and then 7.5. Some of these costs are published a couple of years in advance, so we have a little indication that we will see a slight drop in rates. One last clarification, then I'll open it up to you. If you were to hypothetically select, let's say, Eligo Energy's 3-year rate of 6.69, your residents would pay 6.69 for all 36 months. It's not a step down, so it's one flat rate for the entire term, whichever term you select.
Would you repeat that?
So let's just assume that you selected Eligo Energy and for 36 months at 6.69 cents. If you did select that 3-year term, residents would pay that 6.69 for the entire 36 months.
Oh, it's not a 12, 24, 36.
It's not a step down. In other words, it doesn't start at 6.9 and then drop to 6.7 and then in year 3. So it's one flat rate for the entire term. So the lowest rate possible, that if you wanted to look today, the lowest rate possible would obviously be the Eligo Energy at 6.69. However, I just want to caution you, the ComEd rate will drop a little bit over the next couple of years. I don't think it'll drop under 6.69. But if you were to select a 2-year rate, hypothetical, or even a 1-year rate, we would suggest that when we come back, rates will be a little bit lower next year when we come back, because again, we see rates dropping. We foresee rates dropping a little bit each of the next.
Is it conceivable then that Eligo would drop their rates
next year? Well, if you contract for rate, it's fixed.
I mean, if we did the 1-year rate, for example, and then next year, if ComEd drops their rate, is it conceivable that we'd also find lower rates in this aggregation?
Correct. I would expect that the difference between you and ComEd should stay relatively the same because your profile shouldn't change and should be roughly the same. There's a couple other factors in there, but yeah, that's what I'm trying to suggest. You would go to the Eligo 3-year rate, and that's not a bad rate and a bad choice, but I just want to let you know.
Did I hear you correctly when you said you were looking at your crystal ball and you had predicted in the next 3 years ComEd would go from 7.7 to 7.6 to 7.5?
Correct.
Which is nowhere close to 6.6.
Correct.
Is there any, I mean, is there anything in here that I'm not seeing that we wouldn't go with Eligo for 36 months?
No. I'll just caution you to say that if you did a 1-year rate at 6.8, when we came back, the rates may be, for the 2 and the 3 year, maybe 6.5, 6.4. So we expect that the rates will be dropping over the next couple of years.
And are you suggesting that they would drop faster than ComEd's rate?
Yeah, I can't predict that. There have been times that they have, and there's been times that the ComEd rate has dropped faster than these rates. So it's a little difficult to predict that, but all of that could happen.
What would you do? What is your recommendation?
Yeah, we do our very best not to make recommendations.
That's what we pay for, though.
Because we're wrong, if our rate's going to go up or down, we're wrong half the time. What I would probably point you to would be the 2-year rate of Eligo at 6.73. You kind of get the biggest bang for your buck for the drop from year 1 to year 2. In other words, Constellation has the best 1 year at 6.854. Pretty good drop down to 6.73 for year 2. So I like that. And then the difference between year 2 and year 3 is pretty marginal. So if you did a 2-year rate, you would then, when you come to renewal, we would like to hope that our renewal rates will be even lower than that when we come at the end of 2 years.
So you said the Eligo rate for 2 years?
Correct.
Is there any impact in the number of programs that each of these companies provide?
No. If they're on here, that we're telling you that we work with them and we hold them in high regard. Yeah, we have people who are not on here. Yeah. So if we're going to, we stand behind all of these. We just want to let you know, Eligo is a little bit newer, a little bit smaller company, but they've come into the market in the last couple of years. We know them, and they've done a nice job in the programs that we've managed with them.
Is there any disadvantage because they've only had 25 Illinois programs versus 510 and 110?
We would say no. We've managed all those programs, and so if they have any issues, we'll coach them. But we're telling you is we're comfortable with them.
Where are they from?
They're in Chicago.
Eligo's in Chicago?
Yeah.
Okay. Any discussion?
I don't mind going with the recommendation of 2 years at 6.730.
I think it's probably prudent. I don't know if we want to run a long game and lock us in for 3 years and then find out, we end up at a wash or in the negative.
I feel the same as they do.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to go with Origo 24 months at a rate of 6.730.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner McKinney?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and if I might just say to Ms. Randall, we'll be in touch with you tomorrow regarding the documentation.
And we'll be keeping an eye on whether your recommendation is...
You know what, I wouldn't expect it any other way. Thank you very much, it's a pleasure to work with you.
Thank you.
Mr. Hoover? Mr. Hoover?
Mr. Hoover?
Contact City Clerk Spooner and we'll coordinate.
I'm sorry?
Contact City Clerk Spooner initially and we'll coordinate.
Absolutely.
Do we need this signed tomorrow?
Yeah, we need to start the process tomorrow and get back to them and let them know. And so
Okay.
That would be optimal to sign tomorrow once you've seen the document and you're okay with it.
Okay. Do we have the document here?
It's the same document you've used before, a couple minor changes, and we'll let you know about that first thing in the morning.
Okay. Can you do it first thing in the morning?
First thing, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 8B is approving and authorizing execution of an amended and restated economic incentive agreement with LDWR LLC, TIF 3 Culvers, 3335 Sheridan Road, for Administrator Nabel.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Back in 2017, we approved a grant for renovations at Culvers, which, if you haven't seen, have turned out great. But as part of that discussion, there was additional improvements that could be made, primarily with the parking lot, that was discussed and requested to go back to the TIF board to see if that would be eligible and that would be approved. We did go back to, they applied for that additional amount. It went before the TIF board. They discussed all the details of it. And the recommendation of them and myself is to amend the original incentive agreement to include an additional $46,000, not to exceed $46,460.50 for the improvements that are detailed in the packet.
Is there a motion? Have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
And a second.
Second.
Is there discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner McKinney?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item 9 is discussion, authorization, and approval. 9A is consider zoning docket 18Z-2 regarding a special use permit for a 2.2 megawatt direct current, 2 megawatt alternate current, fixed tilt ground mounted community solar project located at the Zion landfill per Director Ianson. Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval.
Thank you, Mayor Commissioners. Zion CS LLC is requesting a special use permit for a 2.5 megawatt direct current, 2 megawatt alternate current, fixed tilt ground mounted community solar project located at the Zion landfill. Developer will build a standard fixed tilt or single axis tracking mounted system. The standard solar system has a maximum height from grade level of 7 feet. There is no noise impact from the solar system. The footprint inside the fenced area of the project will be just over 10 acres. The solar power generated from this project will be sold by the developer by local entities through the upcoming Community Solar Program administered by the State of Illinois and Commonwealth Edison. The developer agrees not to start construction on the project until it has received approval from the Illinois EPA, which it expects it to receive in the next 3 or 4 months. At the April 5th, 2018 Planning and Zoning meeting, the Commission recommended approval of docket 18Z2. We have representatives here from Synergy if there's any additional questions from the council.
Is there a motion?
So move to approve the special use permit.
We have a motion and a second.
Second.
Is there discussion?
Looking forward to it.
There was a question about the decommissioning, and it's my understanding that you've indicated that you'll get everything out of there, but it would have to be part of the contract. And do we need to include that in the special use permit, or is it just something that is done in another?
That'll be done, this is during their due diligence, they're trying to qualify for everything to make sure that the site, it was brought up at the planning and zoning hearing that they will be presenting a contract, and they understand that they cannot commence any work on that. They're only in their due diligence, which is 1 year, I believe.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so do you anticipate presenting a contract? Are you waiting on the approval by the IEPA?
Right. I think there's still going to be a lease contract for the term of the solar project.
Right.
It could be in there.
Okay.
And we're comfortable if you want to put it as one of the conditions for the.
I think it belongs in the contract.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're not at that stage yet.
Right, okay. And has anyone contacted the Park District to be sure that, 'cause if I'm not mistaken, from the entryway to the actual 10 acres, they need access across their property? Because I think that the western part of that property is the Park District, is it not?
Sir, the only portion that the Park District owns is just where that building is at. The entry road is actually part of Zion's property.
Okay, then never mind. We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner McKinney?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item 9B is consider zoning docket 18Z3 regarding a special use permit to relocate the alternative school safe school program to the classroom building of Grace Missionary Church per Director Ianson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Lake County Regional Office of Education is requesting a special use permit to relocate the alternative school safe school program to the classroom building of Grace Missionary Church. The Regional Safe School program serves disruptive students in grades 6 to 12 who have received multiple suspensions, are eligible for expulsion, or have been expelled from school in Lake County, Illinois. At the April 5th, 2018 Planning and Zoning meeting, the Commission voted to approve the petitioner's application with the following conditions. Student capacity not to exceed 101, and student pickup and drop-off be limited to the east side of Enoch Avenue. We also have the principal, Mr. Munda, and Pastor Carlson here for any additional questions.
Is there a motion?
Yes, I make a motion to approve the special permit to relocate the alternative school to the classroom building of Grace Missionary Church.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion?
I think this is good for a lot of reasons. Having served on the school board and seeing young students be expelled, and maybe it's their last year or they've got 2 years, those students, if they don't go back to school, they become a problem in our streets, in our communities. So for them to continue to be able to get treatment, further schooling, and learn some life lessons and skills, I think this is really good for the community.
I just have a question. Is there a capacity issue with the building that we're limiting it to 101, or is that your request that it's limited to 101?
It was not my request. Currently, we have 101 seats.
Okay.
There was some concern that our program may exceed 101. The largest the program's been in its history. We did reach 98 at one point, so 101 was something I was willing to concede to for growth.
How did that number come about, that capacity number?
That was recommended by the board, the commission.
That's the number of seats that we currently have in the program.
All right, so that's
so we're currently at the Pierce campus. We rent the third floor out from the high school, and we currently have 101 seats.
Is it germane to this special use permit that there needs to be a capacity stated?
That was the recommendation of the commission.
Is there a reason why we have to have a capacity?
I don't know that there is a reason why there has to be a capacity. I would suggest that if there's going to be a capacity, keep it
the building.
Keep it at that.
Yeah, whatever the building capacity.
And then
is.
if they go over capacity, they can come back and you could we could have taken it at that time.
Yeah.
I've got
no problem. The building capacity is probably 3, maybe 4 times that. So I don't foresee us ever getting that big. But whatever you would like to bring forward, I'm happy.
I don't see the need to have a capacity other than the building capacity, but I mean, you'd have to retract the motion to do that.
Well, I've got some questions and some concerns that I'd like to get answered. I guess the first one is, how many of these kids go on to be successful in life?
We track success in three manners. We call it 90-90-70. It's their improved attendance, social skills, which is a part of our counseling program that is a part of the program, and then academic achievement. So students have to receive 70% or better in order to receive academic credit that is then transferred back to their home school districts. In our 17-18 school year, our success rate was at 92.8.
And that means what? Do they graduate?
Well, we serve students that are 6th grade through 12th grade. So depending on where they're at in their academic track, our goal is to introduce those social skills, develop their understanding of self-reliance, continue with their academic improvements, and then return them back to their home school districts. So if we have a 7th grader, and he was with us, say, for the second semester of this year, he returned back to his home school district to start in August.
And then how many of them stay in their home school district, do you know?
That's something, once they go back, there's a part of confidentiality that we're not allowed to go back and continue to pursue where they go. It's part of para, so we can't violate their rights by tracking that kind of information once they leave us. What we do know is that the students that, once they're in our program, do not come back to our program.
Okay. They've been at Pierce campus for 20 years?
That's correct.
And
since 1997, school code, the state legislators created regional safe schools. There's one regional safe school per county in the state of Illinois.
And my question is, why here? Why Zion?
Well, we located here in Zion with the partnership with Zion Benton High School. They were one of the school districts that were looking for an alternative to students that perhaps were struggling inside.
Right, but I guess my question is, why now? Why do you want to keep this in Zion? And I can't believe this is the only usable building that you could use throughout the county. And I'm not, well, I guess maybe I am. Why isn't this in Libertyville or Lake Forest or why here?
The success that we've had here in Zion with the location, with the students that we serve that come from districts that are struggling. This was a location that was established some time ago, and it's served well. So the communities that we serve, the school districts, this is a good location for us. And it has been for the last 21 years.
Right, and I get that for Pierce campus. Did you look at any other locations throughout the county for this?
We did. There were several other buildings that we did consider, but there were some issues with the buildings that had space for us that had Head Start programs, kindergartners, and first graders. Many of the districts don't have the type of space that Grace Missionary Church has available to us. And it certainly puts us in a building where we're kind of isolated and we're not engaging with kindergartners and first graders. So it will, I believe, serve to be a good home for us.
Okay, I have concerns regarding, I guess, where do these kids go for free time, outdoor time, when they're not in class? I have seen them wandering up and down 23rd Street in the past, going out of campus and up to Sheridan Road.
We're a self-contained program. Our students don't drive to school. Districts provide transportation to and from. When you said free time, our students remain inside the building. I think some of the other students that you might see, maybe up and down 23rd Street or heading towards Sheridan, Zion Benton has New Tech, which is the building across the street. They also run ZAP, which is a ED-BD program. That's a special ed program. They also run their transition programs out of that building. So we are not the only school facility that's there, but we are the only program of the ones that I just mentioned that are on a type of program that our students don't leave to go out for lunch or go up Sheridan Road or wherever they may be going.
Okay, and what about phys ed?
Phys ed, the Pierce campus has a gym and a weight room that we utilize.
They don't. Your students aren't utilizing the football field across the street?
Usually that's underwater, so it's kind of a hard thing. If it is nice out, like it is now, just it's not a very feasible thing for us to go outside. But if we do go outside, we go across the street into what used to be the old football field. But because we have the facilities inside, it's easier for us to stay inside. Grace Missionary Church provides us with a gym, so that gym space will be utilized for our gym classes. We have 6 gym periods. All of our students go to PE every day, and we'll utilize the gym as necessary.
One of the things that strikes me is this is much closer to a residential neighborhood than Pierce campus. And my question is, what supervision is there prior to school when students are arriving and as they leave? And my big question is the buses that line up at Pierce campus. And hang on just a minute. And how are you going to address that? Where's that going to take place?
Well, we're not a traditional school where school buses show up and 45, 50 kids unpile off of a bus. Our cabs, we have cabs and vans. Zion Benton does run their own transportation with their buses, but most of our students that wherever they may be coming from come on cabs, small buses, and then we have 2 large buses that show up. But those are monitored by a staff member who meets and greets the buses, talks with the bus driver or the aide. We take attendance while the students are in the cab or the van, and then they're escorted into the building. The process going out is exactly the same way as the cabs line up. The staff member radios inside. For example, they would call Grace Lake. The Grace Lake students come out. My staff member puts them into a cab or a van, and they leave. So again, it's not just a bell that rings at the end of the school day, and you have 2,200 students that are leaving.
Right.
Currently we have 54 students. We're very well managed. We're very well structured with every approach that we take with our students.
I've noticed, especially at the end of the day, beginning of the day isn't too bad because they're arriving at different times. They're not, but there's a line of cabs and small buses lined up.
Correct.
When you're leaving, and in front of Pierce is a very, very, very wide street.
Yes.
And so my question is, how are you going to? Where is that going to take place? Where they're going to line up when you're getting out of school on this location?
Yep. Part of that was one of the other conditions that we'd be using the Enoch side of the building, the east side to be exact. So we would be pulling up to have our students arrive on Enoch. So there's an alley that runs to the south of the church in the parking lot, where our students will then exit and come into our main entryway. I don't believe that'll be any type of hindrance with traffic. There's plenty of room for the cabs to come in, drop off, and then leave the area.
I'm concerned primarily with pickup when they are lined up and waiting for the students to come out. Will you be using the alley or will you be using Enoch?
Depending on when they show up, as they show up, most of some of that lineup that you see out in front of the Pierce campus isn't all us. Some of that is the ZAP program that is pretty close to us with arrival. So they're going around the corner and ours are dropping off in front.
Why can't you just use the parking lot that's there?
Yes, the parking lot that's there.
Or the alley, that's what I would, I don't think it should be on
Enoch.
It should not be on Enoch, and it shouldn't be on Emmaus.
Or can't you just pull the taxi cabs into the parking lot.
Just
have
a
them
moment,
there.
just a moment, just a moment.
The parking lot, I think is big enough to do that if that's.
That's a
what you like.
concern of mine.
Like-
And I want to be sure that it's addressed so that we don't have traffic issues on 27th Street, because that could be a real mess, because
Right.
that's fairly narrow, and cars are moving along at a half, they're not going real fast, but it's a little bit faster than a side street.
Right.
Any other concerns that commissioners have? Yes, ma'am, could you come to the podium and state your name?
Good evening. My name is Josephina Lozano, and I own 14 single-family attached homes across the street from the church. Our physical address is 1509 27th Street and 1503 27th Street, but 7 of the units face Enoch. If I may approach, so that
Sure.
I made copies of the tax maps. A is our property and their proposed location. B is where they're at now.
No, so we can get it.
A and B.
A and B.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Did you get that? The diagram marked A is where is the Enoch and 27th location. The area that I've highlighted in pink is the church. I've highlighted all the other areas in blue that are residential. And in comparing B, you can see how much more impact it'll have in a residential area. Also, as the mayor pointed out, Enoch is much narrower than 23rd Street. I did go by a couple of times when the children were leaving the school, and I noticed, quite a few vehicles, taxi cabs. I did notice 4 school buses waiting, so I don't know if all those for your school. And that's what concerns me about limiting the number of children. That's only with 50-odd students. I can't imagine 300, how we would deal with that kind of traffic. I honestly don't think that this school is an appropriate, or that the church is an appropriate place for this school. It will, in my opinion, negatively affect the neighborhood, which is primarily residential. And if it gets even bigger, it'll create more of a problem.
So how do you feel that it will negatively impact your neighborhood?
Well, first of all, if you read the mission statement, what they're doing is you're taking all the bad eggs and putting them in one basket. Now you're putting that basket in our neighborhood. So think about this if it was going on next door to your home. Think about your property values. How it would impact.
I would feel differently if we're talking about convicts, but we're talking about kids that are looking for a second opportunity. I don't.
We're talking about children that have misbehaved so bad they're on the verge of being expelled or have been expelled, and I think that takes a lot nowadays in high schools. I also think even if nothing happens, and I think Mr. Emerson? I'm sorry, Mr. Munda is very sincere and he seems to know what he's doing, but he may or may not always be in charge of the program. And so it could lead to some problems. I mean, they're surrounded by a neighborhood. I don't think it's an appropriate place. And I agree with the mayor. Why Zion? Why not have another community take this burden on? Why does everything have to be dropped on Zion?
it's just a matter of perspective. Again, I think if you're talking about convicts and opening up it sounded, I'm sorry, in the description, like we're trying to house convicts, and for kids that are trying to get a second opportunity. That's the perception that I receive when I hear these negative tones labeled with these young children. I've been on the school board and I've seen kids get expelled for reasons that absolutely boggle my mind. And because people are used to one perspective of sight of students, they label these kids as if they should be thrown out like garbage. I just totally, from what I'm hearing, bad eggs. We can look at people in Hollywood, and typically when you talk about bad eggs, there's a different perception that comes with that, in my experience. I hear the term Section 8, and when my family moved here, we were essentially Section 8. I still live in that neighborhood. There hasn't been a crime in my neighborhood or at my house in 50 plus years. There are good people that live there. And you're talking about a church. We talk about Christian values where these kids are going to be getting the necessary skills.
Excuse me, but
no,
the church,
excuse me, you've had an
not
opportunity
going
to
to
talk.
be in charge of educating these children.
You've had your opportunity to talk.
Okay.
Give me my time to talk.
All right.
Please. This is just what upsets me. Just this whole, like they're criminals. So why Zion? We keep talking about all the virtues of what Zion's supposed to be in helping people, a Christian city. And you've got kids that are looking at an opportunity, an extra opportunity to turn their lives around, and we want to turn them away. I can't accept that. I can't understand that. Because everybody needs a second opportunity in life. You see it whether it's with movie stars, Pee Wee Herman, Robert Downey Jr., all these people were bad eggs that all of a sudden are millionaire actors now. We're going to deprive a kid of this opportunity because of our fears. So we should all just live in a vanilla world, I guess. I don't see the issue with the location. In terms of what you're saying, we're assuming that this problem is going to get worse with these kids because we've got 101, they got 54, that we're going to continue to have these kids expelled from school. And if kids are having trouble learning, I've seen this, that maybe we ought to look at a different way of teaching these kids. Right away, when kids don't learn or tests can't be passed, it's automatically assumed that these people are dumb. I've seen this in my business. Street smarts don't equate to, book smarts don't equate to street smarts and being a good person. And if we're going to deny these kids an opportunity to turn their lives around, then what are we doing here in the city of Zion?
Commissioner, could I ask, I'd like to ask the police chief, do we have any trouble with the students? We had a history of trouble with the students at Pierce campus.
I knew you were going to ask me, so I've been racking my brain since we started talking. I would say that we respond to some other schools more frequently than we respond to.
Wow. And I have to say, I live near Pierce campus, and I didn't even know this program existed.
Most people
Yeah.
don't.
I mean, I knew about New Tech, but
The only time I recall us having a lot of trouble at that location was when, I think it was Lakeshore Academy.
Yeah, Lakeshore Academy, they're Zion Destin. I believe they were, it's a different group.
Yeah.
And they work with a very special population that is different than ours. Our population is all regular ed students. In the program you were referring to, they have some ED, BD, special ed concerns that.
And this is, you've been operating in Pierce campus for over 20 years.
21 years, sir.
21 years.
It's not a frequent place that we respond to.
Okay. Do you have anything further that you'd like to add?
No, just my point is that I'm not denying anyone a second chance, and I don't expect the church to be educating these children. That's what the program is for. However, I do have a great concern that you're bringing a negative element that did not exist. You're bringing it into a primarily residential neighborhood. We're talking about the traffic, which is, it's not substantial, but it will create havoc on 27th and Enoch or in the alley. And now you're saying, let's not even limit capacity, which would, make it much, much worse. Even if nothing happens with the school, there's no reports. The fact that it's there will negatively impact all the property values for the residents.
I'm not sure that that's verifiable at this point. And I want to be sure that I understand it correctly. We have not taken off the limit. We have not said that there can be more than 101 students there yet.
That's a recommendation.
If we come back to, if they do have a need beyond 101, you can always come back and ask for that to be increased.
And then we'd have a track record by that time.
Yeah. Right.
But I think the testimony at the Planning and Zoning Commission is that it never exceeded 98.
98,
So
3 years ago.
My question was, why was the 101 capacity?
That's the physical space that we have, that we rent out, and that's the number of seats that we're able to.
And because of citizen concerns that were parroted here this evening at Planning and Zoning, hence the recommendation, which the regional school districts seem to have no problem with.
Sure.
Would you two work out? Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure which two you're pointing at.
No, you two. Would you two work out the ingress and egress, perhaps with the help of our police department, and also include the neighbors on? And I guess as I'm thinking of that over there, seems to me that the parking lot would be a good place for the vehicles to line up to pick students up and take them home, very close to the door. And as far as teacher parking, my guess is you could probably work out some type of relationship, with the park district in the parking lot just north, across the street. Just
I believe the lot that the church owns, that we can do the busing and
okay, but you guys would be committed to that, to keep it off.
And staff parking, that we could make that happen, no problem.
Keep it off Her Street and keep it off MES and even the alley if we can.
Right. Obviously, they'll have to exit out of the parking lot.
Right, no, I get that, right. But that's a 5 minute
that is
ordeal.
That is acceptable, right?
Okay.
Well, are you going to impose that as a condition? Because
I'm not. I'm gonna ask them to work it out with the police department and come up with a plan that would ease the. Yes.
So the condition with the Enoch on the east, there's a motion and a second on the floor.
Yes.
So is that?
I guess, Mike, can we change the motion to, and I don't know if anybody agrees with this.
That's fine.
But that to have.
To modify the motion with the
but
student.
I think Billy made the motion.
But I don't think there was the motion didn't say anything about Enoch to the east.
With the conditions, there's two conditions, student capacity and parking Enoch on the east. So if we're not going to approve that, then the motion needs to be modified. Withdraw the second, modify.
You did.
I made the motion.
You have to withdraw the second.
But my point is, are you going to address it this evening, or are you going to continue it for 2 weeks so that, or can it be addressed?
No, I would like to address it this evening and say it needs to be in the parking lot. All pickup and drop off needs to be within the parking lot.
Right.
Confines
That's
of
what I'm
the
trying to
school.
clarify.
So if you withdraw your motion, then you have to withdraw your second and then your motion.
Or
and I think you have
modify
to
the
go
motion.
in that
Right.
order.
Okay.
You withdraw?
Sure, this is what you want to do, right? Right, okay. I will withdraw my second.
Yes, I have to withdraw my motion.
Okay, now you want to make another motion?
Restate the motion. Yeah.
So restating the motion now to amend?
No, just make a new motion.
Approve the special use with the conditions of the student capacity.
And all drop off and ingress and egress to the school by the students would be from the parking lot.
Okay. So be it.
Excuse me. She'll get a second.
Wait, that's the motion, is there a second?
Yeah, we have a motion.
And I will back him up and I will second.
And there is a discussion, excuse me, Miss, I understand your concerns, believe me, and you asked me a question. If something like this was going into in my neighborhood, there are 2 or 3, 4 churches in my neighborhood, and if there was a program like this going on, I would support it. Because maybe, just maybe, I would come across one of those kids and have an opportunity to impact his life in a positive way. That's what happened to me when I came here to Zion. And it's why I came back here to live here. Because I had a successful life because people didn't look at me as a statistic that I was a young black man and came from a single parent home that was essentially poor in Section 8. And people took me in and helped me learn how to live, how to be a good citizen. And as a result, if I did not have that, I wouldn't be sitting here on this console. I wouldn't have spent 39 years as an executive and a player in the NBA. I wouldn't have sat on the board of the United Negro College Fund, the Urban League, and all these different organizations that I've served in different communities if someone would have looked at me or my education as they had in so many instances and said, he's not going to make it.
Right.
Let's put him somewhere else. Let's get him out of the neighborhood so he doesn't, damn it, there goes the neighborhood. Excuse me.
That's all. Mayor, I would just like to ask a couple questions and then comment a little bit. I know Pastor Carlson quite well, and all of you that do know him, he's like a buzzbee. You can see how he's like a little ant. You see him all over town. He's busy, and he knows what's going on. Excuse me, I didn't mean to demean you by that. However, I know you know what's going on and you care. And the reason you're sitting there is because you care. Tonight you care about what's going to be taking place one way or another at your church. I know if those young people are going to enter your building, they're going to get an opportunity to do some things that they've never done before. You have baskets in there that they can shoot baskets, I believe. They have a gym in there for recreation that's going to be provided for them. It's going to make a difference. And I feel like Bill. I was juvenile officer in this town for many years. And I can tell you some stories about some kids that were bad eggs that grew up to be the best people you ever want to know. In fact, one of the people that I arrested as a young juvenile officer is a multi-millionaire contractor right now. I caught him stealing hubcaps. But anyway, I want to tell you that I feel like he does. I'm for the young people, and I feel because I know Pastor Carlson. I don't know the gentleman with him, but I do feel that he wouldn't be sitting next to him if it wasn't all right. And so I feel like Bill does. I'm for it.
Any other comments? We have a motion and a second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner McKinney?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye.
Thank you.
Item number 9C is tabulation of bids, 2018 annual fuel, bituminous, and construction materials per Director Roberts.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. We have tabulated the bids for our annual fuel, bituminous, and construction material costs. Staff therefore is requesting the council approve and accept the lowest responsible bidders for these materials as presented on the attached exhibit table for 2018-2019 fiscal year. Bid results are filed in the clerk's office and in Public Works.
I'll move to approve accepting the lowest responsible bidders for these materials as presented on the attached exhibit table for 2018-2019 fiscal year. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner McKinney?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item 9D is consider approval of a solid foundation application to participate in the CDBG Commercial Sign and Facade Improvements Program for Administrator Nabel.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. last year we were awarded a CDBG grant where there was no cost to the city, but we would administer the program on behalf of the grant. This was for signage and facade. Solid Foundation actually came in and applied. We approved their application for the program. A requirement before they can get reimbursed under the grant requirements is that the council approve the disbursement of that, stating that they met all requirements. All the requirements are in here. They did exceed all the grant provisions, and I would recommend approving the reimbursement of $3,400 under this grant.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
A motion and a second. For discussion? Please.
Were there any other applicants for this grant?
We have one currently in progress.
Further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner McKinney?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item number 10 is departmental commentary. Do the department heads have anything they'd like to share? Item number 11 is announcements. On May 1st at 7 p.m. there will be a Zion City Council meeting. May 15th at 6:30 p.m. Zion Township Board meetings. And is there a public hearing during that meeting on the budget? Is that at 6 o'clock?
In May, yeah, apparently.
Yeah.
May 15th. May 15th at 6 o'clock, there'll be a public hearing on the township's budget. At 6:30, there'll be a township board meeting. At 7 o'clock, there'll be a city council meeting. There is need for a closed session pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2, open meetings for the discussion of probable litigation. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
A motion?
Second.
Second. Discussion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner McKinney?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye.
Maybe the average of the last. I know.